Yeah, maybe.
Just the
Maybe.
front to be like, I'm gonna, like he thought he could do everything that he's done, and then at the end of it all, oh, I'll just be a best-selling author writing about all this stuff. Like,
Hmm. You get away with
just
it.
can't believe the front of some people, really.
Yeah, he's got front galore. I mean, all these people, the only way you can be a fixer at this level is at being all front and no
But you
soul.
think he would just keep a low profile, is what I'm saying. Like,
Hmm.
but he's still, no, no, no. I still want to be someone. I still want to be a best-selling author. Like,
Oh, yeah.
okay,
Mm. We're entering into different times now, though. We're getting along and we've moved forward. It's no longer the 90s, my friend. We're in the noughties. The millennium has happened. And at the time when he's releasing his last book, the one we were just looking at, The Boss, he releases it in 2005, but then re-releases it in 2006 for some reason. So I don't know what happened with it. I never worked that out, so I think it was just a decision. Maybe it was just too many errors in it or something, or they decided to change a bit. But anyway, the same year, 2005, there was something coming out, and it's interesting that this was one of his last books. That he wrote the last book, and then he stopped writing um, afterwards. And I think that's partially because he got forced back into this stuff, and I think he had a little bit of a like an urge from it, probably from stuff like this. So this is the Washington Post recording, which isn't a surprise. um as I mentioned Bernstein earlier, the other person was Bob Woodward, who was reporting for the Washington Post on the Watergate stuff, and they were meeting Deep Throat, the infamous Deep Throat, regularly, and Deep Throat was giving them information, secret information. And later on, Bob Woodward wrote this book in 2005 called The Secret Man, and he reveals that W. Mark Felt, who was a deputy director of the FBI, I think he was at that time. Does
yeah.
it say down here? Well, but anyway, he was deputy director of the FBI, was basically the person who was Deep Throat. And it was revealed by Woodward that Pottinger found this out at the time and hid it. So it says that, writes that he learned in 1976 from Assistant Attorney General Stan Pottinger that Felt, who had been the number two man at the FBI, had given himself away by testifying before a grand jury. Asked, "Were you Deep Throat?" Felt initially said no, but a stunned look alerted Pottinger to the possibility that he was lying. The Secret Man contains no major revelations. Deep Throat's identity was revealed in a Vanity Fair article a month ago. So nice that Woodward keeps to the rules. And Woodward has already written the story of how Washington Post, in the Washington Post, of how Felt became his famous secret source. But the book adds numerous revealing details to a well-known story. Let me see. Yeah. So in that grand jury proceeding, Woodward writes, Pottinger quietly reminded Felt that he was under oath. He then offered to withdraw the question as irrelevant to the subject of investigation, which was illegal break-ins conducted by the FBI in pursuit of anti-war radicals from the Weather Underground. Felt quickly accepted the offer. Pottinger told Woodward, who didn't confirm his conclusion, that he would keep the knowledge to himself. To his eternal credit, Woodward writes, he did just that. Now, that is extremely interesting, isn't it? 1976, the man who's tasked with covering up Watergate discovers who Deep Throat is and claims, like, and covers it up, but says he offered to withdraw the question as irrelevant to the subject of investigation. And could there be anything more relevant than the person who had all of the information when you're interviewing that person and they were part of the FBI? That is a cover up in process. That's a cover up in happening. So all of they're saying, oh, Mark Felt got discovered as being Deep Throat a month before this book came out, so it's okay. But why wasn't it discovered in 1976? Obviously, it should have been outed in 1976, and it should have been in proper investigation, and everybody would have known what was going on. But Pottinger was back then the fix-it man. He was put in charge of these cases for a reason. He was to make sure that nothing come back on the government, hardly anything. So this is a perfect example of how in real time Pottinger covered up parts of Watergate and stopped justice from being done by saying that something that was extremely relevant to the case was irrelevant to the subject of investigation. It was the most relevant thing that you could possibly find to the subject of the investigation. So that's not just a little bit away, completely away. So you can see Pottinger's being revealed by this point, and he stops being an author all of a sudden.